this is working. Hello, everybody. All one of you. I am a few minutes early just to make sure everything's working here. Woohoo! What's up, Doug? Do I have audio? Hopefully that's not too loud. Let me know in the comments. I try to test out having the guitar amp running. This is just me screwing off for my birthday here, so nothing formal or anything like that. Good deal. I'm sure I'm going to be packing in all kinds of people here. Well, I do have 2 minutes to go yet. So let's see. In this chat thingy, I haven't actually used this in a while. They changed the whole chat interface here on YouTube live stream. So I see the chat window, but I can't really, there's no, let's see. Do I get a participant list? I do. So, interesting. I can't see the chat and the participant list at the same time. Well, it's not like I got anything to worry about right now. It's not like I got 1,000 people sitting in here watching this. I wish it would give me I guess it only counts participants on the live stream if someone's actually typed in the chat window. Otherwise, I don't see the number of people other than just a raw count. I am probably boring everybody to death that is subscribed to my channel and got notifications. They're like, what is this bullshit coming? Well, let's see. It's officially 1 o'clock now, so I guess it's time to start day drinking, right? Get my ice bucket here. Try to get some room for it on my desk. My official bourbon glass here. Murga. How many can I cram in here? I'm going to try for 4. There we go. Put that there. Put you back up here on top of the amp. Cheers, everybody. Oh, yeah. Completely contributing to the delinquency of everybody. Just a small pour here. Oh. It is right now snowpocalypse going on outside. We're supposed to get, good grief, like 8.5 inches of snow tonight. They've had about 3 over the night. Tasty. Gotta say, I'm not sure if the 10-year-old Basil Hayden's is that much better than just regular Basil Hayden's, but it's definitely smoother and it's not as sweet. Verdict's out on that, so I'll let you know as the stream progresses here. But so far, it's just a handful of people. I wish I can see all the people that are connected in the live stream. It just tells me the total. The only people I see are the people that are in the chat scroll itself. All righty. It's going to let me know just how far down in the YouTube recommended video algorithm and also lives that I have been buried. Probably, I think if I look at my my creator page on YouTube and I take and look at the stats, it would show me that I would have been better off starting this at I don't know, like 4 o'clock Eastern time US, just because that's when the majority of the people watch whatever videos I've posted up in the past. Let's see. I start in 2014 or 2015. I know I've been posting to YouTube for almost 10 years, which is crazy. And also, I don't know whether I'm looking that way or at the monitor. It drives me nuts here. It's easier to look at the camera, but then I'm also checking out to see if anybody's dropped in to see if I got anyone to chit chat with. But until then, I'm going to continue to enjoy my birthday bourbon here. And let's see, do they give me options to do stuff like share my desktop or any of that stuff? I don't know. They have changed this interface. When was the last time I did a live stream? I should have looked that up. But yeah, the interface has changed a little bit better, or a little bit. It's a little bit better than it was. When does the printer arrive? Well, Anycubic has sent me an email. What was it? Tuesday, to tell me that it's probably going to be first week of March, I think, because the Cobra S1 is a brand new model, and right now the only ones that are out there were pre-orders and also the reviewer units that are out there. I could have got the printer itself earlier, but because I decided to do the combo with the what are they calling their multi-material handling system thing? It's the ACE. So the Anycubic ACE is like their color changer thing, and because of the combo, it's delayed, and I think it's delayed because of the availability of the parts to make the color changer. But I think if you just wanted to get an Anycubic Cobra S1, you can get one shipped almost immediately. But yeah, I'm gonna have to wait on that. And until then, a friend of mine that like I game with online, Steve, he's been helping me figure out Onshape CAD. So I've been noodling around designing a frame cover for Indian Scouts. I know they exist already online, but generally most of them are like decals or like an applique or something. I actually want to 3D print a frame cover for the rear portion of the Scout frame. And I'm thinking about putting an Indian logo in or something, pretty much like this, but it's either going to be embossed or raised up from the print, or I'm going to kind of do an inlay or recess it. One of the challenges I'm finding when I'm learning about all this 3D printing stuff is like, beyond it being structural, like figuring out which way you want the bread slice layers to go as you're printing the stuff out. It's also like, what do you want the surface to look like? There are some settings. One of the reasons I'm not using a Bamboo Labs is the availability of using a third-party slicer gives you the freedom to change some settings and how your stuff is going to go from a 3D model in a computer to be printed into real stuff. And I'm pretty sure Orca Slicer and some of the other tools that are out there give you the ability to get a little bit of jitter in the print head and create a textured surface to hide the layer lines, which is kind of cool. And if you're using like a carbon fiber PLA or some of the other advanced filaments out there. You can create a part that almost looks like it was an injection molded part, and still have pretty good strength. But my idea is, because the part I want to make is mostly flat, I'm going to print it upside down so that I've got the texture of the build plate, or like the heated part, the part that the first layer adheres to generally takes the shape of whatever the texture on that surface is. So that's the plan. I can kind of print it upside down. If it's a raised embossed surface, I can print that as a separate piece and then just like inlay it. And then you'll get like a really cool, surface finish on it that looks more like it was injection molded versus being something that was printed out of a bunch of layers. 3D printing's cool and all, but like if you're trying to make something look like pretty, or like, like it was molded that way versus FDM, like layers printed up, sometimes you'll see the layer lines. Sometimes it's cool. Sometimes you don't want to look at them. Like, if someone's making a part, they want it to be round and shiny, like they're printing a model or something. Then you end up having to do a lot of like sanding and infilling the gaps between the layers to make it like smooth and shiny. But that's not what I'm going for. The frame on the Indian Scouts is like a textured powder coat. And so I'm looking to kind of replicate that same texture. Anyhow, yeah, that was a lot of bloviating to say that my printer hasn't been shipped yet, and it probably won't show up till sometime in March at this rate. I think they're getting a lot more orders for them because I settled on the Anycubic. Well, actually, my buddy Doug, who's in here, he was telling me to check that out, so I did. And the few reviewers that have actually had one in their hot little hands, the accuracy prints I've seen have been phenomenal for like a 3D printer. And what I mean by accuracy is like, there'll be like some kind of block that gets printed out with a bunch of different diameter holes, square, round, whatever the shape is. And then it'll print like a peg or something. And if you measured it with a dial caliper, how close to the actual, not dial caliper, vernier caliper, how close is it to being an actual dimension? So if you wanted something that was exactly 10 millimeters, like 10.00 millimeters, and you print that out, the printer should be able to do this accurately enough, and the software should figure out the shrink rate and all of that other stuff, that you can take your calibration block and take the peg and move it through all the holes, and you should have clearance for the part to still slip in and out up to like the point where I think I saw on one of the reviews for the Anycubic, it was like 0.01 or 0.001 millimeters of clearance that you could still maintain, which is pretty damn good, considering it's basically the Play-Doh fun factory of plastic being extruded at heat, right? But I don't know. We'll find out. I'm still figuring all this crap out. I've read way more than I need to. Yep, true. I'm gonna be pinging you, Doug, to figure all that crap out, because I'm probably gonna make a lot of garbage at first. I'm gonna do my best to not print a benchy just because everybody else does it. Fuck them tugboats. I might just make my own thing, or I might just find a good calibration block and just use that as my printer, like, tool, versus a little toy tugboat that ends up being crap that sits on a shelf or gets tossed out. The calibration block seems more usable, because I'm using the 3D printer not to print stuff, but to use it for fabrication. I've got a couple of videos that I've done out there on that, because I want to be able to print stuff that is very difficult to make out of metal for fabricating purposes, like on motorcycles. Thanks, Aaron. But oh, he can't hear. Let me reply back in the chat. Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. The getting a printer with high tolerances and the ability to print like all these advanced materials, the main driving force behind that is like, I'm thinking about Barney, like when I can get back out in the garage and start fabricating on the bike again. I need to make a battery box. I need to make some kind of tray to hide all of the electronics, because I'm trying to make the bike look like there's no wiring. I'm going to try and run the wiring internal to the frame. So there's a space underneath the seat. There's like a Springer seat on Barney, and there's a space in the frame rail where I've got about that much thickness by like maybe a trapezoidal, like, 1 foot by like, I don't know, 6 inches at the back that tapers down to like 4 inches at the front. And I can make a tray that'll snap in place that has all the provisions to mount the fuse block, the relays, the wiring. I can mold in to the 3D design in CAD places to secure zip ties. I'm going to get some of these, they're like threaded inserts that you heat up and you can press into the plastic on a 3D printed part. And then I have the ability to make, a wiring box that's organized and it looks like it was built that way from a factory. I also want to do something like a bikini fairing and a chin spoiler, stuff that for me to make it out of metal would take hundreds of hours of hand hammering and stuff. And while that's really cool, it is a Rebel 250 in the end, in the end of it. I've already spent an extreme amount of time just fabricating what I needed to do the rear fender, let alone the front fender, which are still going to be steel. But the 3D printer gives me the ability to do stuff, like really cool stuff. For example, Thunderhead 289 on YouTube has a channel where he has taken, I believe he took a Predator carburetor from Harbor Freight, their Predator line of motors that you can buy to replace, like if your lawnmower engine explodes and you need a replacement one, you can go to Harbor Freight and get a Predator motor. Well, he's taken on his old Ford Maverick with a 302 V8, and he made a carburetor adapter to put a freaking lawnmower carburetor on a V8, and it works. Not only does it work, but he 3D printed the freaking adapter. So there are definitely materials out there that'll hold up to the heat and the vibration, don't get dissolved by fuel. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I could print an adapter for Barney because Honda has made that Honda Rebel from like in its current form. Well, not current. Well, I think it's still made in Taiwan under a different name, or Korea, but that CMX series of 2-cylinder engines started at about like 83, like 84, 85 came to the US. Barney's an 87 Honda Rebel CMX 250. At some point in time, Honda changed the internal guts of the carburetor. The external looks almost identical, but if I have to go get a carburetor rebuild kit because Barney's carb's getting very old and it's going to get to the point where the next go around of me trying to clean it's going to tear a gasket, or some rubber seal is going to have perished because of the ethanol in the fuel. Well, the parts I need to rebuild that carburetor are made out of unobtainium, because all of the carb kits are for the newer Rebels that ran all the way to 2014 before they ended the production on the Honda Rebel 250. Then they introduced a Honda Rebel 300 and 500, and it's a completely different bike. It's got a fuel-injected motor. It's a totally new design. So for the older Rebels, you can only get carb rebuild kits aftermarket or from Honda for the newer style of carburetor. The jetting's different. Some of the gaskets are the same, but some of the internals of the carburetor, they're just not the same. So the 3D printer solves these problems because I can just make an adapter that actually acts like a phenolic block to isolate the carburetor from the engine. And then I can just go to like Dime City Cycles, pick a carburetor that I like that'll match that size of motor, and just make an adapter and bolt the damn thing on and be done with it. Great. I don't have to machine any parts. I just design it in Onshape, print the damn thing out, bolt it onto the bike. I can even print gaskets. I've seen guys that will take TPU and print gaskets that will hold up to fuel and heat. There's a guy on YouTube that I saw going down a rabbit hole one day that was making TPU gaskets. He printed on his 3D printer for his lawnmower and ran it for an entire year, and then pulled the gaskets off the carburetor base and also the overhead valve cover for the mower engine, and it didn't leak. You could see where it had been compressed, but it had never leaked. So, I mean, why go and buy gaskets when you could just 3D print the damn things now? So it's cool. It'll be interesting. I have to learn all this stuff from scratch. So my buddy Steve, who's not on right now, is probably going to laugh his ass off at me as I struggle through learning the shit that we've been giving him crap about for years. The rumor has it, as we've been saying, that he's been making toys, of an illicit manner on his 3D printer as a side hustle. I probably should have put the link to this this live stream out to more people. They don't give you a lot of tools to share this thing when you pre-schedule it. The link is kind of buried in your YouTube studio, so it is what it is. My channel had been idle for years, so I don't expect to have lots of people showing up to watch me get drunk. As long as my friends do, that's all that matters. It's like, I showed up to watch guitar, motorcycle shit, and here's this asshole playing guitar. Whatever, it's my birthday. Yeah. That is actually really good. I can't afford to buy that on a regular basis. The Woods Wholesale Wine in Harper. Is that? No, it's not Harper Woods. Grosse Pointe Woods, or is it Harper Woods? It's off of Mac, like right around 9 mile-ish, 8 mile-ish, somewhere between there, on my side of town here in Michigan, Detroit metro area. And they have they have a ton of wine and like all kinds of different whiskeys in there. So they had this. I hadn't seen it before because usually my favorite bourbon's Basil Hayden's. And I've never seen a 10-year aged Basil Hayden's before. So I was like, happy birthday to me, and bought a bottle of it. So this is my 53rd birthday. Just me, Melly's hanging out. She's making me a cake because it was basically the only thing I asked for my birthday, just a basic cake. And I think we're trying to make a rum flavored cake without actually putting rum in it. So digging into trying to find out what spices go into rum is a little challenging, but she's got like a French vanilla cream cheese frosting for the cake. So you got the vanilla there, and then, whatever other spices that would normally get added to rum. We'll figure it out. If it's, we'll still eat it regardless. I'm just gonna let this live stream run forever until I get bored of doing it. And boy, do I love to hear myself talk on camera. Judging from my YouTube videos, this is absolutely true. Let's see. Texting some friends here. Do, 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 do. Let's see. Sorry about that. Somebody was wishing me happy birthday here, and I didn't want to be rude and not reply. All right. Don't mean to ignore everybody. A few people wishing me happy birthday, which is much appreciated, especially since it's crapping down snow left and right outside. We're probably going to get a bunch more tonight, I think. Early AM to now, maybe 3.5, 4 inches here. I could tell it's probably closer to 4, just based upon my official snow gauge here is how much snow stacks on top of the garbage cans and that are sitting right outside the kitchen window. So it's got a flat lid on there, and the snow will fall just right. And like you can just look at the side profile, and that tells the truth better than the local weatherman. So I think we're approaching like 3.5, 4 inches or so overnight. But like going into the next day, they're talking like 7, 8 inches. So snow blower is primed and ready to rock and roll. And then I'll just go out there and clear off the mountains of snow and figure out where the hell I'm going to blow it all, because I don't have a real huge yard here. It makes it challenging to unload the snow because like you run out of places to stack that shit up. Run out of places to pile all my global warmings. Oh, I didn't have the volume turned down. That was surprising. The noise gate on this Marshall Code 50 is really good if you're into guitar playing and whatnot. It's all software driven. It's a digital amp, so it's all digital amp modeling. Some people are super only analog. To me, as long as it sounds good and it works, I don't really care if it's digital, analog, it has tubes in it or whatnot. But the nice thing about this is it can sound like any amp I need it to sound like. I can throw all kinds of different effects at it, and you can connect online. This is something my buddy Alex in Portugal got for me for was it a year or two ago? It was the Christmas gift, and then I believe this was a birthday gift. Also, it's the pedal, so you can use it live and you can switch between different banks and sounds. So it's like you can have all kinds of different amps with this, and you can either mic it up or you could do a direct line out into a PA for like a house sound system. It's really convenient, but so far I like it. Some people don't like it; they think it sounds, I don't know, artificial. But I did mod it because I can't not tinker with something. I ended up treating it like a subwoofer enclosure, and I put baffling inside of it, and I also used some acoustic isolation mat for the back cover, and it made a huge difference for it. So it's got hollow fill on the inside, and then the whole back cover is got a piece of like a Dynamat. I think it's Kill Mat is what I used. I got it off of Amazon, but it changed how well the speaker projects and how deep the bass sounds. So it sounds great. Love it. It's wrong note in there somewhere. I'm having fun, even if nobody else is watching. Oh, yeah. I'm really annoyed that it doesn't give me a list. It only gives me a list of the people that have commented as participants. It doesn't give me a list of everyone that is watching it. I just get a number. But it's good to know. I mean, if by some stroke of miracle I end up actually growing this YouTube channel to some point where this like live stream has lots and lots of concurrent viewers, then it'll help me figure out how to handle all that stuff. But for the time being, it's just me and a couple friends. Oh, my phone's buzzing at me again. Come on, turkeys, jump in here, and then you can wish me a happy birthday on this end of it. Notifications did go out, so that worked. If anything, this is kind of more of a test for me. So I've got a couple of Google accounts. I use them to be able to test this stuff here, and so I did get a notification that this is live. That's cool. At least I know it works. I probably would have had more people showing up earlier into the live stream, but like I started it at 1 for a reason because I've got friends in Portugal and the UK, and if they decided to jump on, I didn't want it to be too late their time because they're 5 hours ahead, right? So it's like 6 o'clock in the evening over there right now. Well, 6:30. It's 1:30 here, but just being considerate that way. It's not like midnight for them to jump on and say howdy and whatnot. But I'm not going anywhere. I got nothing better to do. Plus, let me figure out how to use this thing. This is going to be the most boring playback on the stream ever. Let's see. Share screen. Well, what would I be sharing? It doesn't tell me that. I think the best way to do the live stream is to use something called OBS, but that has its own problems too because I've tried to do OBS in the past, and it ends up creating, and I haven't figured out how to fix it. So if anybody who watches this at a later date knows how to do this, shoot me a comment down below on the saved copy of the live stream here, and tell me if you're using OBS software to do screen capture, or if you've done a live stream with it, how the hell do you fix the synchronization issue between your audio and your video? I've been able to get it to work, but sometimes I see like a massive delay, like a second and a half or bigger for the audio versus the video. So it's like it's not getting synchronized as it's getting uptaked into YouTube servers, and I don't know how to fix that. So instead of using OBS to do the stream, I actually use YouTube's built-in tools, and I just use Camlink adapter to connect my video camera to the computer, which is my Mac Mini, in order to be able to treat a professional camera as if it's a webcam. Alex, hello. Cheers. I am playing on your gift today, quite poorly because I'm out of practice. I think I might even be out of tune. Let's verify that real quick before I play some more poorly played music. For those following along at home, I am in D standard tuning. I am not in standard tuning. So it's D to D. The intervals between the strings are all the same. You're just tuned to D, G, C, F, A, and D again. It's not drop D. It's like the whole guitar is tuned to D standard. I've got a couple of guitars in my collection of guitars. And actually, if I pan the camera around, I've got quite a few more in here. I've got some that are in front of me. But I would say 3 of them out of the, I don't even remember how many guitars I have at this point. I down tune them a full step to D standard because if I'm playing blues, it just sounds better. Some people do a half step, which is like E flat, but like it sounds better to me if it's D standard. So it is what it is. My preference. It's what it is. Ah, Lola too. Well, Melly's in the kitchen giving me the only thing I asked for my birthday other than the 3D printer, which is kind of a Mike had to buy it for himself thing. Cause as you get older, I don't know when this happened exactly, but today I'm 53 years old, but as you get older, the shit that you want becomes expensive and hard for someone to buy for you without you having to be involved with the process. So I wanted to get a 3D printer to be able to create stuff, mostly fabrication. I don't really want to print toys with it, but I do see printing some useful stuff. Like let's say I break apart on, I don't know, like a vacuum cleaner or whatnot. I actually do have one I need to fix now that I think about it. There's where the hose couples to the vacuum cleaner body. They don't make parts for it anymore because we've had the vacuum cleaner forever, but I can just design one in Onshape CAD and I can print the part out and bolt it onto the vacuum cleaner and it will just work, so I no longer end up throwing away a perfectly good vacuum cleaner because I've got a part that I can't get anymore. I could just make one. So that's really cool. No fair posting in Spanish, Alex. I'll have to translate that later. I'm not cool enough to be able to do that in real time. I'm almost out here of round 1. So I have to take my fancy ice bucket, not drop it. Yes, actually, thanks for reminding me, Alex. I am using the new light. It is up there at an angle. So hopefully the lighting is better because apparently as a gift, I had to take a hint that apparently I was too dark in my other live streams. No, it's really cool. Give me a second here. I need to pour round 2. If you're following along at home, feel free to pour one. There we go. Already making a mess. Oh, my chair stuck. The cap from the Basil Hayden's. I don't know how well that focuses. So I am using a well, I wouldn't call it an old Sony Handycam, but it's an early 4K video camera, and through its HDMI port, which is used for like let's say if you had something on your video camera and you wanted to play it back on a TV, it gives you a mini HDMI to HDMI cable. Well, Camlink, the company, makes this thing called the Camlink 4K, which is just HDMI to USB 3. And it's a real-time encoder. So you can take the output of a regular, video camera or a DSLR, and you can output that as a video signal straight to your computer, and your computer will recognize it as a webcam, which is how I'm doing this right now. Because before, I had this little crappy Logitech 1080p webcam, and while it may have been 1080p, the video resolution, because of the size of the optics, the lens, was so small that it just looked like crap. But because I don't have the ability to control the exposure on my Sony video camera because of how it's outputting the video signal through the HDMI port. So if I was just recording the video without going through the HDMI, if I was just recording it straight on a camera, I could control the exposure, the f-stop, like all these normal things that you would be able to control. But when it's a live output from the HDMI port, all of that stuff is blocked out. I know there are cameras that will do it, but I don't have $1,000+ to buy a DSLR that has a good enough quality to do that stuff. When you're watching like pro level live streams that looks like it's like in a proper studio setting, they're using a camera that costs like $2,000. I'm using a camera that back in the day when I bought it cost about $700, and in today's market it's worth about $100, if not, because it's been superseded. Buddy Doug is back. Doug, meet Alex. Alex, meet Doug. You guys are in the chat. So Alex is my buddy from Portugal. I've told you about Doug. And Doug is my best friend from school. I've known him my entire life. Dr. Hughes, as it were. My special retarded friend. I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to say that word anymore, am I? It's like against PC protocol. Man, that is really good bourbon. Oh my God. Okay, so I will officially recommend this stuff. Guys, check it out. I'm not sponsored by Basil Hayden's. If I was, I'd be a rich man. But that stuff is really, really good. It's not overly sweet. I could definitely tell there's a big difference with the 10-year aging on it. Yeah, my buddy Doug, he when the rest of us went and did stuff like going and doing regular college, or my dumb ass went in the Army, he went and decided he needed to get a degree in molecular biology, so he has a PhD in that. He's the only doctor I know, but he also like makes his own beer, distills his own booze, has emotional support chickens in his backyard for fresh eggs. And like him and my buddy Steve both got me into 3D printing. I think they both have Ender 3s. Doug, I believe, had done a bunch of 3D printing for his kids to make like hydroponics in the basement, kind of like 4-H, like, raising lettuce and tomatoes and things like that, so that you can have fresh veggies in the wintertime. It gives the kids something to do because his children were homeschooled. So it's really cool tech. And then like, he kind of got me into that. So my buddy Alex, I know from a forum which is still around called the Idiot Collective, and that's kind of how I met Alex. But he's, how should I put this? He looks like Colin Firth. I actually came up with this to my own on my own conclusion last night. Melly and I were watching a movie because it was Valentine's Day, so we watched Bridget Jones' Diary because it came up as like a suggested video on Amazon. And I said, hey, that dude looks like Alex. So if you ever meet Alex, yeah, he looks like Colin Firth. But I'm not sure his entire relationship with Yamaha, but he's into motorcycles, he's into electronics, and that's how we both know each other, that through the Idiot Collective forum. So Not that I think anybody actually goes to that forum anymore. At one point in time, it was huge, but forums have died. Everything has gone on to regular social media now. And what's funny is people still go on forums to look up information that has been lost, like how to fix something, or like guides for stuff to do. People used to post all this stuff on forums now, and it's mostly gone. If the forum is still there, then like people hardly ever post to it anymore. It's like a bygone era. Now everything is in like 50 different places on social media. It's all condensed down to 30 and 60-second clips, or it's YouTube videos, and there's not the community that there used to be. I have a video on my YouTube channel. I think it's the second or third. It's the last Idiot Collective video that I put of Melly and I traveling to the United Kingdom. And I mean, we had a huge turnout of bikers, and that was all based upon an online forum that doesn't exist anymore. Well, it does, but nobody goes to it anymore because people just don't do that stuff. And it's kind of sad because everyone's like, oh, you should go on Facebook and make a Facebook group. And you do that, and then it just dies. So you had more participation on an old school forum than you did on all this new social media crap, because the upside to an old school forum is that only members see what the hell you post there, especially if it's like a members only forum where everybody sees everything on Facebook. Yeah, Doug's trying to make bread. I don't know if I could do it. I think bread making is okay. So Melly and I have watched every episode of the Great British Baking Show. At first, I did it because I wanted to hang out with Melly and watch TV and do something she wanted to watch instead of constantly watching, motorcycle and car and guitar and nerd shit on my YouTube channel or my YouTube feed. So we were watching the British Baking Show, and then I actually found it interesting, even though I don't really cook that much and I don't really bake, but I know enough that I could seriously fuck up making bread, because it's like, it's almost like, and I know Doug will know this for sure. It's like there's like the science that meets in the middle, because Doug makes his own beer. He also distills his own booze now. And I think it's more than just following a recipe. I know brewing is kind of that way too, but I think bread is like on a whole different level. Like you can do everything right, follow the recipe down to the exact, so many milliliters or, ounces of this and that. You're combining stuff per the recipe and still completely fuck it up. You get temperature and humidity changes and all these things that you out of your control, and you have to kind of, there's enough to it that you have to understand the art of making bread beyond just the cooking science of putting the ingredients together in the right order at the right time. Oh yeah, hypothetic. Well, it's emotional support distilling. It's ooh, chorizo in the bread. I think chorizo in just about anything is awesome. You could probably get somebody to eat a cat turd if it had chorizo in it, and they would think it was delicious because of the chorizo. The chorizo makes everything better. Just saying. Well, it's for the glaucoma, man. That's why you need to do all these home projects. Clearly, you have medical issues that need to be addressed. I'm using my America bin shot glass that Melly got me a while back. It's got a 308 round in the side of it. Well, this is cool. I got more people in here now. This is I kind of miss Google Plus, because you could do a Google Plus space. Do they call it spaces? Do you guys remember what Google Plus called it? Where you do a live stream like this, but it's participation. So I could have had like everybody in it, right? If you had a webcam, or if you had a headset and a microphone, and then I could actually talk to everybody versus just doing the chat. Now I know I could kind of do that through OBS, But again, I was talking about this earlier. OBS is a pain in the ass to configure without delay. At least it is for me. I think the way to do it is I have what y'all can't see here is I have two computers and I use a KVM switch between the two computers. I have a high-end gaming PC for my nerd projects, and I have a Mac Mini that I bought just for normal computing and also video editing because I've tried other video editors. Nothing beats iMovie. And if I need to do something more complicated than iMovie, anything I've done in iMovie, well, then, I mean, I could just move it straight over to Final Cut. Like it just directly imports over, and then I can do granular changes and adjustments. And there are a lot of things that just work easily in iMovie. So one of the most difficult things about making YouTube content is the amount of time it takes to do it. For example, I don't remember how many minutes exactly, but it's well under an hour. Let's say it's like 45 minutes. I did a video a while back about putting biking saddlebags on the classic 350 Hazel that we bought. Well, it's really a family bike. I bought it because at the dealership I'm working at, a guy traded it in, and I was able to buy it at trade-in value. So it was super heavily discounted for a bike that had 60 miles on it. The thing's brand new. And so I knew my brother-in-law had been farting around with trying to learn how to ride a motorcycle. He's got a 69 Honda SL90, which was a 1-year only bike. While it's got a very similar engine to the Trail 90 that they made for several years. A bike from 1969, it's 1 year only. It was an import to the US. The parts on that thing are as rare as hen's teeth, and fixing it and getting it up and running is not easy. And to do that and then also try and learn to ride at the same time is a very daunting task. So what we did is I saw this bike come through dealership. I had not actually planned on buying yet another motorcycle because I need 6 bikes in the garage. Like I need a hole in the head, but apparently 6 motorcycles is the correct number of bikes so far. So I bought the classic 350 Royal Enfield, and I've been riding the crap out of it. Eventually I'm going to get Melly riding it. And I got it so that my brother-in-law, Chris, can ride that also. Someday, when he goes through his MSF course and he gets his license and stuff, I'm going to sign the damn title over to him. I'm just going to give it to him because it was meant to be a gift for him. He does quite a bit to take care of my mother-in-law, Melly's mom, and because he lives closest. And I know eventually he'd like to ride, and kind of it's been our dream that we all go on kind of like a tour of Michigan riding together. So at some point, he, if he wants to, the bike's his. If not, Melly and I'll just ride it. But to get back to the point, I made a video of putting saddlebags on that bike, and to record. So if I just did it on my own, if I just put the parts on the bike, it would have been like less than an hour job, 45 minutes tops. Part of that would have been just pulling it out of the damn box. But to move the camera around, think about what you're going to say, record it in clips, then put all that stuff together. Then you got to take it into your computer. And when you plug the cable into the camera to download the content, it's not instantaneous. A gig of 1080p at 60, or I'm sorry, let me think about this. Every minute or so of 1080p at 60 frames per second on a camera is roughly a gigabyte of data. Even over USB 3, if you got hours of video on your camera, it can take a very long time to transfer it from the camera to the computer before you even start editing it. So you've taken a 45-minute job and you've turned it into a friggin' 10-hour process of recording, stopping, finishing the job, then taking all that crap to your computer, downloading it, and then only then you can begin editing it. And then you also need to take still images for screenshots, thumbnails, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, of course you can join the tour. We've got a few bikes. We can lend one out. Let me think about this. If Alex and Lola came to visit, I think what we would do is we would give you guys a Himalayan, and then Melly and I, or Well, the Himalayans are probably the only ones you could ride two up on because they don't have pillion seats on the Speedmaster and the Scout. But there is a way. I have licensed and insured multiple motorcycles here, so I have bikes to lend out to friends, is what I'm saying. Hey, thank you. Much appreciated. Well, anyhow, yeah. So the video on the Classic 350, it takes quite a bit of time and effort to do that. And I think I only have a couple hundred views on that video. Sometimes YouTube can be very disheartening. You have to do it because you enjoy what you're doing, not because you think you're going to be famous and make a bunch of money at it, because it ain't going to happen. It's very slow. You will not believe that the entire time the guitar has been on, no noise on my Telecaster here. And it's not because of the guitar, it's because of the amp. I was talking up this amp before Alex came on. Actually, Alex got this for me as a gift. Much appreciated. I don't play it nearly enough because I don't play my guitar nearly enough. It's been an interesting year or two, to say the least, post-COVID and all that kind of stuff. I've made a significant change in my life for the better, and Melly agrees. I was killing myself working in telecommunications, like 10, 12-hour days, plus the stress and lots of travel. I was constantly traveling, all the responsibility, the authority. I was a radio frequency engineer working in 5G telecommunications for probably, good grief, I think I had almost 26 years in that. And I decided that it wasn't worth killing myself over stress. So I took some, because I've been monkeying with motorcycles pretty much my entire life since I was 17, I think 18. I bought my first motorcycle. My dad convinced me to buy an 87 Honda Magna. It was a VF 700. It was 86. Yeah, it was 86 Magna. So you can Google that to figure out what it was. It's actually a cool bike, a shaft drive. Even though it was a 750, it was a really big bike. It was very kind to me as a new rider. It was very easy to turn. The motor had enough torque that figuring out how to use the clutch was easy enough. And I was able to be able to pass Ohio's MSF course at a very young age. And then I've had multiple Honda Magnas, but basically I started riding when I was 18. So I've been riding in motorcycles my entire adult life, all the way up until now, where I've turned 53. Wow, this is pretty cool. I appreciate everyone that showed up so far. I wish I could kind of Honda's VMAX. Absolutely. What I wished I could have bought, and I didn't know at the time, Alex, was a V65, because for a period of time, the VMAX and the V65 were head to head. The V65 is like the bigger Honda Magna, right? Is it 1100 cc? Because the 750 was the V45. But I never owned the bigger one. I always wanted a VMAX and never bought one. Just because by the time I decided I wanted a VMAX, the prices had went through the roof on them, even used. I think they've kind of come down to a reasonable level, but that's a labor of love. There's a lot of complexity to the carburetors on a V4, even Magnas. So I've had a first gen, I've had a third gen. I would technically call a Super Magna. So I've had basically kind of multiple iterations of a Honda Magna. I had the Honda Super Magna. I've got videos on my YouTube channel on that. That bike was really cool. It had more power than it should have for the way it was configured. And what I mean by that is it had a rear drum and a freaking single disc brake on a 100 horsepower motorcycle. That is insane. You do not have enough stopping power to slow that damn thing down. A while back, Melly and I rode out to like Greensburg, Pennsylvania for some of the American Idiot Collective at the time. And through the rolling hills of Pennsylvania around Greensburg and Rolling Rock in that area, the freaking brakes started fading on it because the drum in the back was heating up so much I couldn't slow the bike down. I had to freaking downshift constantly. So yeah, I miss the V4. I think that's one of the reasons why my favorite motorcycle of all time. It's a bucket list bike. If anybody wants to send me a last minute birthday gift and they've got shit tons of money burning a hole in their fucking pocket and they can't wait to get rid of it, go out and buy me a brand new Ducati Diavel V4. I want all the carbon and I want the freaking red frame, and like the V, it has the same firing. What am I trying to say here? The way the firing order happens on the V4 is the same as Honda does. So it's got the same tone to the engine, but it's a Ducati. So it's like you get that cool V4 VFR / Magna sound, and you just take it up to 11 as far as how cool the motor sounds. I love the VMAX. The last VMAX that Yamaha made was a really cool bike, but I could not get over the anime style exhaust system that bike came with from the factory. I think I'm not sure if Akapovich or some other company made a really cool aftermarket exhaust, but the way the factory exhaust pipes look on it, it's like something out of Akira, some anime cartoon from Japan. It was a way over the top. That's kind of like the Warrior has this like, the Yamaha Warrior is a really cool V-twin like muscle bike, which is what I dig. But like the exhaust pipe on it is like this freaking big around. It looks like a bazooka. You ride it, the bike's like leaning way the hell over on the side of the exhaust because of how big I'm joking obviously, but like the size of the exhaust can is so damn huge. I bet you just putting an aftermarket 2-in-1 exhaust on that will probably drop 50 pounds of weight off that bike alone. And I understand, they're selling to markets where it's got to be really iron slim. Oh, Scott. Thanks, buddy. Oh my God, it's been forever. Much appreciated. It took me a second to remember who that was. I was just lamenting the fact that the forums kind of have all died away, and I met all my friends on the Idiot Collective. At some point in time, I'm going to have to ride out to Greensburg again. I don't know which bike I'll be on, probably the Scout, but definitely we got to catch up. Melly rides now. She wasn't really riding back then when we took the Magna out, but yeah, she's got a pretty sweet Speedmaster, and we both ride Himalayans. I've not made a video of it, but 2 summers ago, we took a trip. We trailered the Royal Enfield Himalayans down to my mom's house, like outside of Dayton, Ohio. And then we rode. That was kind of the drop-off point. Because honestly, riding from Michigan to Ohio is about as boring as it can be. It is just flat cornfield farmland as far as the eye can see, and state troopers to bust you for speeding. So we rode across southern Ohio into Hocking Hills territory, West Virginia, into Virginia to Front Royal, jumped on the Shenandoah National Forest and a Skyline, drive through there. And then that becomes the Blue Ridge Parkway. We went through the Smokies. We did like 1,600 miles in a week and a half. It was awesome. But yeah, we got to meet up again and visit you guys in Greensburg. Also, I've been meaning to try and catch up with John. I know, he hasn't been super active on, well, nobody has been on the Idiot Collective. But I know when his daughter passed away, it was really sad. But, we all need to catch up again. It'd be really cool. The kind of the USA Idiot Collective reunion that like, for the one time we all got together. What's interesting about that whole situation is it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't pushed for it, because like I find that when it comes to getting people together for a ride out on motorcycles, it's like Sisyphus pushing the friggin' boulder up the hill, right? You're the one that has to put all the inertia into to getting the thing to happen, because nobody else everybody wants to participate, but nobody wants to do anything to make it happen. They just want to show up like it's a catered party, and then they're like, oh, that was really cool. Or no, I didn't like this. It's an interesting situation. But yeah, that whole route you planned, Scott, was awesome. I'm so glad I took the time to make a video of it, because that video is really cool. I always look back on it and think to myself, without actually going back to the UK to ride with like, Dell and Penny and all the people from the Idiot Collective, that reminds me the most of the British countryside, that whole area of Pennsylvania. You would be shocked at how close it looks to like that whole southwestern kind of like rural countryside of England, with the exception of hedgerows. It's the only thing it's missing is hedgerows. But oh yeah, I think, other than riding in the mountains, if you just want rolling hills, and not that Pennsylvania doesn't have mountains, it does, but like it has some of the most beautiful countryside and rural roads to ride on. Even if you have to ride on some chips and dust, which is like, for those of you who don't know, because this is common where I grew up in Ohio, chips and dust is where, instead of repaving the asphalt, they spray tar on it and then dump gravel on top of that tar, and then just let the cars mash that shit in to form new asphalt without having to actually do any real work. It sucks on a motorcycle, because when you go to stop, you're basically on squirrely gravel at that point. I appreciate it, Scott. Yeah, yeah. I don't even want to call it the good old days. I want to do that again. I know, certainly, as the craziness catches up around here, between things that have gone on family wise, and then like the whole basement flood, and like they're trying to catch up doing other stuff. And then it's been crazy. Even with the whole COVID thing coming through, and then like working in telecom, interesting. Telecom was considered an essential service. So during the whole COVID lockdown period, while everyone else was stuck at home, we were out hammering work, because people being confined to their home, they're on their phone. I mean, they're not just on the internet. And, it's crazy. The demand on the telecommunications network went through the roof. So like we were working stupid long hours. And then police and fire and EMS, they all use the mobile phone network. And so like, yeah, that was enough to make me want to get the hell out of it. It was just crazy. Mauricio, how's it going? Another guy that I know well. Like I spent many hours in telecom. Actually, my last 2 years working in telecommunications, I knew Mauricio. He thankfully still has employment. He was working with us in Detroit, and then they laid him off, and thankfully he found another job and stayed in the U.S. Good guy. I appreciate that he showed up. I need a drink. I'm running dry here. Drink them if you got them. It's Saturday, so day drinking is allowed, or at least I'm gonna declare that it's my birthday, so I have the authority to absolve you of your day drinking guilt. Oh, wait a minute. Somebody jumped on here, and I don't know who that is. Let's see, participants. Social media is the great filter. I have no idea who you are, but thanks for jumping in. Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate. You know what? I like to think that as I do the YouTube videos, and right now, because I think a lot of it had to do with the election, and I'm pretty apolitical on this crap. I really don't care. But I think a lot of people were nervous about the election and the economy breaking one way or the other. So where I was working as a service advisor at the motorcycle dealership, they had weathered COVID and lockdowns and all of this stuff, But for some reason, this year in particular, they took a huge hit in the amount of not just sales, but people coming in for service. So I ended up getting laid off for a few months, and I should be starting back up here in March working again, which is why I've been pushing really hard on the YouTube content. But it's cool to catch up on figuring all this stuff out, because like they've changed stuff. For example, I got demonetized on my YouTube platform. And it's not because I did anything wrong. It's because freaking YouTube changed the terms of service. It used to be as long as you had at least 1,000 subscribers and you had, I don't remember how many hours, watch hours of content, they would monetize you, meaning like you would get fractions of a penny per view. Now you have to have 4,000 watch hours. So 4,000 watch hours equates to, it isn't just a click. So if someone clicks on your video and says, oh, hey, this is interesting, I'm going to watch this, and they click away from it like a minute or a half later, that only counts towards clicks. I think if it's over 60 seconds, it counts towards AdSense revenue. But to qualify to make AdSense revenue, which is how YouTube pays you as a partner in their program, you have to have 4,000 watch hours in a moving 365-day window. So day one, which is 365 days ago, whatever hours of watch time that was gets kicked off. It doesn't count anymore. So it's constantly moving. You have to average 11 hours of watch time per day to meet 4,000 hours a year. That is a lot. I actually feel really bad for people that make good content that are just starting out on YouTube and want to monetize it. For starters, it is an enormous effort to get to that new level that they've set. They're still loading ads on my videos that I post up that they're not paying me for. So YouTube's making freaking money off of my content I've created for their platform. Now, I get it that they're allowing me to post this stuff up. It's a partnership, right? But clearly the house wins in the casino here when it comes to working with YouTube. So you put all this effort into it, and you have to put an enormous amount of time. You basically have to put out multiple videos a week so that the combined average of watch time equals 11 hours per day. You know, some days you're going to get more. We're talking about the average, right? Some videos are going to hit, some aren't. But when you're a small creator and you just started, YouTube is not pushing your information, your content, what it is that you're putting out there up. Like, so I started doing video podcasts. And initially for the first 3 or 4 days, they do really well. Like the amount of views I get takes off, and I can look in the analytics and I can see that they're promoting the video, and then it dies. It just goes like the number of views just tapers off. And the reason why is they're not pushing it anymore. It isn't because it's shit content. It's because they're front loading videos that will get more impressions. And it's really annoying because they're promoting inane, like reductive content, which people are just making copies of other people's shit. So I like to think, I mean, I'm not the only motorcycle related YouTuber out there, but I just do what I like to do. I'm not trying to like look at everybody else's shit and it's like, oh, I'm going to pile on that and do my own version of it. But things like reaction videos, you know, it drives me nuts. People will sit there and they will literally rip off somebody's entire video, the entire content of that video. And they'll just sit there with a picture-in-picture using OBS or some other software. And as long as they make comments on it, it's okay. YouTube's cool with that. And they'll monetize that shit without actually creating a damn thing. They didn't create anything from scratch. And that will get pushed up in the algorithm as a higher search result than me spending 10 hours putting saddlebags on a Royal Enfield Himalayan. There are a ton of people that buy Royal Enfield motorcycles, not Himalayan. I meant the Classic 350. I mean, the number of videos that people look up for this stuff is enormous. But yet, if they aren't promoting your content, it's going to get buried. Therefore, hitting that 4,000 watch hour mark becomes exponentially more difficult unless you make clickbait garbage. They encourage that because they're able to sell that to sponsors more quickly. So you get a lot of reaction videos, you get a lot of on topic stuff about politics and pop culture, but the system is rigged against someone who wants to do something useful. You know, I don't ever on my YouTube videos preach to people how to do things. I like to think of the videos I put out are kind of like, this is what I'm doing and this is my path to doing it. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's just how I did it. And you guys, like as the viewers and my friends and people I know, are just along for the ride because I do it for fun. I'm not looking to become rich or anything off of it. It'd be awesome. Hey, Indian Motorcycles, you want to hit me up with a sponsorship and give me some free bikes? I will freaking totally do that shit. But I will still just be me. I'm not going to whore myself out for a brand, even though I'm clearly wearing an Indian t-shirt right now. I just made a complete hypocrite out of myself. But, sorry, I'm ignoring the chat here. Handwear. Oh, thanks, Handwear. I don't know who you are in real life, but I actually really appreciate that. That's what makes me put out the videos. It's interesting. I'm 53 today. And one thing I noticed that as I get older, I don't have a hell of a lot of friends. Like I have good close friends and I keep in communication with them all the time, but you have a shit ton more acquaintances in your life than you have friends. And the older you get, the more lonely it becomes. It really does. You're left to stew in your own thoughts quite a bit. So if you do YouTube content, you have the ability to reach out and talk to other people. And you're going to get your shitheads. You're going to get your guys that want to fucking troll you about bullshit all the time. Like one thing you don't see on my YouTube channel, I will only moderate, which means I will only censor comments that are people that are directly attacking me with derogatory bullshit that has nothing to do with like whatever I posted up. So like, for example, if I do something and I do it wrong and it's like, because I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination when it comes to this stuff, even though, I've changed careers. I became a certified motorcycle technician. I work as a service advisor. I don't know everything and I don't claim to. And that's the most important thing. My videos are more of like a journey. You guys are following along with me. They're not like, hey, Mike says to do it X, Y, Z, and that's the only way to do it. And if I fail, I show me screwing stuff up. That's not a problem. I'm not going to edit that crap out. But I get some comments that I have to edit out of my videos in the comment section just because there are people out there that are absolute scumbags that just want to fucking troll you to see you get a reaction, and that makes their day. It's a game that they want to play to see if they can rile you up. And the easiest thing is to not interact and delete it. And that's the best thing. If you ever get into YouTube, you will find out this information firsthand. The best way to deal with it is to not deal with it. You don't interact with them. You just delete the comment and block them off of your channel. This whole process of being on YouTube is very eye-opening. It is not a free speech platform. It is a business of intellectual property. You are a partnership with YouTube. And when you make videos, it's like a little business. If someone walks into your coffee shop and is a belligerent asshole, like throwing stuff across the countertop at you and stuff, you can ask them to leave. That's essentially what you're doing when you take someone who's like calling you a dickhead or whatever for no reason and being belligerent and rude and worse in the comment section. Moderate them and block them and delete them, but don't interact, because all you're going to do is you're going to create a situation where it becomes a pissing match between you and some other person that thinks they're better than you are for whatever reason. And I don't talk religion, I don't talk politics, I just talk motorcycles and having fun doing stuff. My fabricating skills are mediocre at best, but I do the best I can. And I don't tell people how to do anything on my channel. I just go out there and work on the bikes and have fun. Especially, when Melly comes out to the garage and hangs out with me, that's the most fun. Because we just goof off. We've been married forever now. We're the old married couple officially. And so like the garage is like our fortress of solitude where we tune the rest of the bullshit in the world out and just go out there and screw off. And that's what we do in the wintertime. Well, other than recently, but we'll just say in general, and then we think about where we're going to go, what we're going to, places we're going to ride. And I hope to do a lot more of that, like going out and riding and having fun. Holy crap. 5 people have viewed my video. I can't imagine what this would be like with the large YouTube channels that get like thousands of people that watch in a live stream. Like, I don't know how you manage that. That's got to be nuts. It'd be cool if I get there, but I don't know how I'm going to deal with it when it happens. Probably exactly the way I'm dealing with it now, Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad I helped you with modifying the Scout 60. It's interesting. Having the YouTube channel up, I've had people approach me at the motorcycle dealership that actually recognize me without recognizing me. Sometimes it's weird, and it's I've got only a handful of videos that have gone quote viral. The probably the most popular video I have has over 250,000 views on it. It's the one on my Scout, where in one video I put on a Bassani 2-in-1. I do a Trask intake and a power commander install, which is kind of outdated because I personally would never even install power commander now. I just go get a Lloyd's tune on a bike with a reflash. But people now have walked up to me like not regular customers at the dealership, but like people new off the street that decided, hey, I'm going to go check out the motorcycle. They'll like eyeball me and stuff. And I don't realize it at first. It's like they recognize who the hell I am because there's been so many people. If you think about it, the probability that if you made video content on X, or not X, the platform, but like X, Y, or Z, like whatever the subject is, right? And you work in that situation, eventually you're going to find someone that has actually watched the crap you've put up. And then they'll be like, hey, I know this guy. And that's happened multiple times. It's been kind of cool and also kind of weird from my perspective that like somebody has recognized me from the YouTube content that I've put out there. It's like, hey, there's Mike. I know this guy. I've watched like every video of his, and I'm thinking to myself, man, you wasted a lot of time watching me blather on about bullshit. But it's very humbling, and I appreciate all of it. So it's cool. Even this is cool because again, the older you get, in general, sometimes your circle of friends decreases and you kind of get more lonely. But like with the YouTube community, if you have the means and the ability to do it, it's cool because it gives you a larger perspective on the world and you get to interact with more people and you don't feel as closed in and lonely as you would be otherwise. Did you, Scott, you guys visited Japan? That's really cool. Where did you go? I've been there once for work. Let me think about this. It's back in 2005. My telecommunications experience got me hired at Hitachi Automotive Products. And I worked for, I think they're Clarion now. I'm not sure if it's the same name, but it was Hitachi Automotive Products. But Xanavi is an infotainment company that made the GPS/Bluetooth modules for Nissan and Infiniti up to a certain point. So I got to go to Japan for a while and work with those guys. Basically, I was a kept American because there was like two Americans in a company full of about 5,000 Japanese engineers because they were just coming into the U.S. And I got to go to Japan to Kanagawa Prefecture. Is it prefecture? I don't remember what prefecture that's in, but it's like northwest of Yokohama, um, in Zamashi or Zama City. So Nissan corporate is in that area. It's a weird dynamic. When you work for a supplier with automobile manufacturer in Japan, like your kids go to Nissan school, and you have a house, if you don't own it outright, that is a house that you're paying for through Nissan, and the grocery store is Nissan. It is like you mess up at work, you're fucked because like your entire life is gone. So you would get into this kind of salaryman culture, and I don't remember what the Japanese term is for it, but like they're like literally dying from overwork is because of the situation where they have concentrated your life into the corporate structure so much you live and die for the company. It was the most bizarre thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. But I got to visit Japan, which was really cool. And the cool thing is being an American there, like they're like, oh, this is our American guy, and him and like the VP of North America were the only two Americans working at Xanavy at the time. So it was pretty cool. I got to travel. I got to go to Japan. I got to wear a Tyvek bunny suit and go at the dock over at Yokohama, like a shipping dock, not the Yokohama Tire Company. But we had to do a bunch of running changes to correct a mistake on some vehicles. And yeah, it was a cool experience. I would love to go there and visit again. I would love to ride motorcycles in Japan, out in the countryside. I don't want to be in the city. Tokyo is cool and all, but I want to be out in the countryside and see like old Shinto temples and like, the beauty is the countryside and the rural areas, not like all the high density, population areas. But went for two. Where did you go, Scott? Like what part of the Japan did you guys visit? Oh, a little base. That must be Gary that's talking about. Well, check this out, buddy. I don't know if you've seen the 10-year-old version of Basil Hayden's before, but apparently Woods. So I was on Woods's quick change of subject. I still want to talk about Japan with Scott here, but like I'm on Woods's wholesale. They're like a wholesale liquor store wine company, and they're in Wayne County, but they're just across the border off Mac. Um, and they sent me like a coupon. It's like, hey, happy birthday! Here's like a 20% off coupon. So I went into the store, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go down the bourbon aisle, and I saw this thing. I know that they've got a couple of different types of Basil Hayden's. They've got what is it? They got their smoked, and they've got a rye, and they've got the standard one, but the 10-year aged one I had never seen before. And with the discount, and then they gave me an additional discount, I got like $127 bottle of bourbon for under $90 out the door. And I was like, okay, that's a bargain. I got to try this. It's my birthday. Screw it. That stuff is really good. It's too good because like I can't afford to buy it on a regular day. But yeah, if there's anything left over, Gary, you can totally come and visit, and we'll have some. Hey, James, thanks for the happy birthday. I appreciate all the happy birthdays. But actually, I bought this shirt. I bought this before I bought my first Scout. So I've had this since 2015, I think. Yeah, you guys went to some of the rural areas, not just Tokyo itself. I did say I didn't really want to go to Tokyo, but I kind of do. I want to go. I don't know if it's Ikihabara or not, but like I'm not a big Nintendo guy, but I think this is really cool. There's a place somewhere near Ikihabara, which is like Gadget City, where like you can buy all kinds of like computer and tech stuff. There's like a ton of anime and manga, and like there's a giant Sailor Moon statue where the freaking the train line, like the elevated train line. It's not subway. It goes like between our legs. It's kind of creepy looking shit. But there's a place you can rent go-karts, like street legal go-karts, and they take you on a tour all over the place, but you got to dress like Mario Kart characters. It is the coolest shit ever. So like you could be Luigi, Mario, like, whatever, what's the fucking Yoshi? Is that the name of the dinosaur? But like you have to wear the costume to do this stuff. And you're driving around the street with like Japanese like buses and traffic and stuff like that. And the guy's taking on a tour, but you're in freaking shifter carts. Like you're doing like serious speed, like hauling ass through town on go-karts dressed as Mario Kart characters. That looks like a freaking blast. I want to do that someday. That is definitely a bucket list item. Yeah, I mean, confession time. I'm rewatching Initial D because I grew up with that. So like that's my big anime thing. I'm rewatching that series because like it's all about street racing and stuff like that. I'm more into motorcycles than cars anymore. I think if I ever got another cool car, it's going to be like some hot rodded Carmen Ghia or Bug. I wish I had the money to buy a 356 air cooled Porsche. I might be one day, maybe when I retire, I can buy a replica Speedster, the Volkswagen based replicas or stuff like that. But I'm still into motorcycles because it's cheap thrills for me. Plus, like I get to tinker on stuff. Thanks, Steve. Your balls. But well, hey Scott, I really appreciate you dropping by, man. I haven't talked to you in like forever. Again, like Melly and I are going to have to make our way out to Pennsylvania and visit you guys again. I don't know if we have to make like some giant like reunion of the whole Idiot Collective, but it would be cool regardless. One way or another, even if it's just me, I'm going to come out. But yeah, if I listen outside, I can hear one of my neighbors trying to use a snowblower for the snow that's accumulated so far. I don't know if there's a point because we're going to get dumped on tonight. All right, Scott, I will absolutely tell Mel that we said hi. Tell Jen we said hi. Glad to know you guys are out there doing well. It's cool you guys went to Japan. Hope everything's working out. And hey, do you guys still have the Sportster? What you riding still? You still on two wheels, or are you guys doing something different now? Because you let me think about this. You guys were riding two up on a Sporty, but then also well, Dan was on a CBR 250, and then of course crap, I'm trying to remember all the bikes that were there. We had a Springer front end. That was a crap. I'm having a brain fart. I forgot his name already. I'm horrible with names. But yeah, so Dan was a retired NYC fireman, right? Or policeman. He bought a Scout and then put like 20,000 miles on that thing in a year. And then John Courtney had a Springer front end Sportster 1200, which was cool as hell. And so you guys still have the same Sporty. That is awesome. Love it. I'm telling you, man, I was that close. I was going to buy a Sportster 48, mainly because you and John Courtney had your Sporties, and I thought they were cool. I had money down on and of course, Gary knows this shit. And my other friends know this too, but I was going to get a Sportster 48. I was going to have to order it to get the Root Beer Bass Boat Metal Flake tank. And it looked really cool because I liked it had a vintage look to it, but it was kind of cool. And then there was a demo day on the Scouts. And once I took a Scout for a test ride, it was sayonara from that point on. The Scout was the way I went, but almost there. Light and color. That's the way it comes. It's not super dark. I don't know. I think it's just the standard Basil Hayden's that they just age for 10 years. It's not a rye or anything like that. I mean, it may be a different, uh, blend that they distilled, but it doesn't really say on the label. As far as I know, it's like Basil Hayden's that's just been aged longer, but it's really good. Good luck finding one. Well, I know you find a ways to find discount liquor all the time, but man, it's good stuff. NYPD detective. Yeah, that's right. I completely forgot that. But the two guys I was working with, Somalia and Madan. I think Madan still rides. He got a Fireblade CBR 1000 RR that I helped him go pick up, and I think Shimalo, he took off to California, and I don't think he rides anymore. I think he sold his Harley. So yeah, a couple of the original guys we rode with out in Greensburg, they kind of fell off the radar there, but most of us are still around. Well, again, we'll have to meet up again. But yeah, I know if you got to bail out, Scott, that's perfectly cool. It's I'm just gonna keep running this till I'm bored and I'll shut it down later. But yeah, if you guys are still on later on, just drop in if the live stream's still up. But I'm just having fun here. Yeah, Gary. Yeah, we. It's absolutely true. But you know what? There's one thing I've learned about motorcycling, especially with the stupid classic 350 Royal Enfield, is that it isn't always about power and it isn't always about the brand. Sometimes some bikes are just cool and are fun to ride the way they are. I don't know what it is about that damn classic 350 that is so much fun to ride on that little piece of shit. But you hammer that fucking bike in every gear. You give it hell. You rev match it on every shift. It doesn't have enough power to get you in any kind of serious trouble. It looks cool. It's not going anywhere fast, but for some reason, it is just stupid fun to ride. You can ride that thing at 11 tenths, right? And it just keeps going. Again, yeah, I mean, it's like anemic as hell. It's not really making a lot of power, but you know what? You don't feel bad because you didn't pay a lot for it, so you can abuse the hell out of it and have fun riding it. I love my Scout, but there are days where I actually enjoy riding the little classic 350 Royal Enfield more because I can abuse it harder. And it's the same thing that I experienced when I was riding Melly's Barney the last time we had it up and running. There's something about just abusing the living crap out of that bike. It's a 250. It'll make a hell of a lot of horsepower, but man, was it fun to ride, And if it looks cool, then it's an enjoyable experience. It's more visceral than it is intellectual. Yeah, we can have the paper drag race on like stats and stuff. Well, this bike makes more power and this one does this and this one does that. But there is something that is let me think about the word here I'm looking for. It's a metaphysical thing that's beyond like what you can touch and what you can feel when it comes to riding a motorcycle. It is, once you get beyond dealing with traffic and figuring out how to ride and all the mechanics about working the clutch and the brake, and it becomes second nature. You don't have to think about it. You just do it. Then you start to feel the motorcycle and you start experiencing stuff like you smell stuff in the air, right? You ride past a restaurant and stuff that you would normally get filter out of your cabin filter in your car and your cage, It's like, oh, hey, that smells like a really cool Italian restaurant. Or you can smell the cool breeze that's coming off the lake. Or you feel that sudden temperature change when you as you're riding, you go down into a valley, even if it's a really hot day, like, a 90-degree day, and you go like a certain area, that can be a radical temperature change that you would never notice in a car. but you feel it on a motorcycle. It really does feel like sometimes there's a soul on these stupid mechanical things that I can't quite quantify. Um, they have a personality, which is one of the reasons why Melly and I give names to our motorcycles, because I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm pretty analytical. Um, I know a lot about technology and electronics, but I'm going to tell you straight up, I can ride 10 different versions of an Indian Scout, and there's going to be a couple of them that feel and react different than the other ones. And it's just like the sum of the parts come together, and it becomes almost like a personality that is transcending of just the pieces of mechanical gear that comes together. It's a weird thing that you don't really experience with cars. And I think a lot of guys who ride motorcycles don't really have the ability to express what that is, because you don't know unless you ride. It sounds stupid, people who aren't into riding don't get it, but like when you do, you understand it, and that's why like some guys will dump more money than common sense into a motorcycle, because like it's their buddy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, the piece of mechanics that'll mechanical engineering that will elicit this kind of experience. But it's interesting when it happens, and thankfully I've got enough weird bikes that we've been able to do that, between Melly and I. Oh yeah, the 350, the Gones are pretty cool. I would love to buy the tubeless wheels, and eventually maybe I can do that for our classic 350, because I like to tinker, and I will never leave well enough alone, and I'll probably figure out some way to throw more money than common sense at that bike also. Oh well, the teal and the black and red, Gary, those are the two best colors for the Gone. So anyone who's watching this doesn't know what Drago 2 Wind's talking about here. Royal Enfield has a variant of the classic 350 that is like a factory bobber, so it has mini apes, but it is way cooler than that. It's kind of got like it's not really a Springer seat per se, but it's bobbered out, and it's got uh, spoked wheels that are tubeless, and it's really cool looking bike from the factory. Give it to Royal Enfield to come out with something really cool, and I guarantee it's going to be a pretty affordable price, because all their bikes are. And working at the dealership, I think, as far as like how many bikes that come through the service department as an advisor that I've had to deal with warranty wise, it is rare, very rare, that I've had to have warranty issues on a Royal Enfield. I can't say, I mean, I love Indian, but I can't say the same about Indian. The Enfields are just well built. They may be built in India, but they build a good bike for cheap. You can't beat it. Yeah, I agree, Doug. Like, well, like Gary was saying, we're for the North American market, we're only getting two colors, but we're getting the coolest two. So that as far as I'm concerned, that's a win. The black and red with the scallops, that thing's sweet. The anodized red wheels are bitching as hell. That bike's gonna be absolutely killer. And I mean, the thing, it's a factory custom, is what it looks like. And I looked at that bike when it first came out. So I haven't done a video on this per se on the classic 350, because I really didn't know what the impact of it was going to be. And I thought maybe I was going to hand that bike off to my brother-in-law sooner rather than later. But there are things you can do to modify the 350J series Royal Enfield motor to make a significant amount of power for the size of the engine. It has like 20 horsepower. You can gain another 10 horsepower for not that much money out of pocket. You decat the bike, you take out the catalytic converter, so it's a free flowing exhaust, or put a whole complete system on it. Free flowing air cleaner element, and a fuel enricher, because it's detuned so much to meet Euro 4, Euro 5 standards for emissions. You gain like almost 10 horsepower back. And on a little bike that only makes 20 horsepower to making another 10 horsepower, it's a night and day difference. And it makes a bike that's fun to ride as it was even more fun. Is it going to win races? Hell no. But like you combine that stuff and then you look at the Gone, right? The classic 350 Gone, the bobber version. Now you got a really cool looking bike that's cheap. You're not going to be in debt forever to get one. It's going to look cooler than anything else on our road. It's going to look like a custom bike, and it's going to be fun to ride. I mean, that's a huge thing. I think Harley and Indian needs to take a look at that kind of stuff and quit selling $35,000 and $40,000 motorcycles that people can't really afford, because they're going to price themselves out of the market. At some point in time, people that are old enough to afford these freaking ridiculously overpriced motorcycles are going to age out of the market segment. They won't be able to ride anymore. I've seen it myself at the dealership, people selling bikes back to the dealership because they just can't physically ride anymore because they're too old. They've got health concerns, or they're retiring, or they have other financial priorities. And it's sad, but like, if the American motorcycle industry wants to survive going forward, they've got to figure out a way to make bikes that are fun and more affordable to get younger people, or people that are not into the big bikes, into their brands. I think on Indian, the Scout Bobber, the last time I looked, is the most sold model that Indian has by far. They sell more of Scout Bobbers than anything else. Chieftains, regular Scouts, you name it. Yeah, exactly. $48.99. At some point, I'm going to put together a video, some inside baseball information. If you're making YouTube videos, and this is good advice if you're going to start a YouTube channel, YouTube gives you actually quite a bit of tools. As much as I shit on YouTube and Google, they give you a lot of information, especially if you're in the data and you're kind of nerdy this way. You can figure out what time of the day to upload and what day of the week, what the demographics, like how old people are that are watching your videos, whether they're male or female, what country they come from, all of this stuff. It is insane, the level of detail that you get from YouTube in the analytics as a creator. So you go into the studio, and one of the things they're going to tell you about, there's now an AI based tool, and it takes and it looks at everybody else's videos, and it gives you suggestion based upon your videos you've made to date, what a good topic will be. And one of the ones that have come up for me, which I think I will make a video of, is like, what would I personally recommend for motorcycles for beginners that cost less than $5,000? And clearly the Royal Enfields are going to fall into that category. I mean, holy shit. If I was going out and buying a new bike, and I wanted something cool, to go for like friggin' $48.99, that thing's a killer. And I've got the classic 350. I know exactly what it's going to perform like. Even if I don't modify that bike, it's still going to be fun to ride. And plus, it's cool looking. I actually like the teal with the anodized, I don't know if you call it orange or bronze, but that's a cool looking bike. It's going to turn some heads. Even the bronze and chrome classic 350 Hazel that we got, people stop me on that bike all the time, more than when I'm riding the Scout, even though I've done all this custom work on that bike. We've got a bunch of custom stuff that's done the Melly Speedmaster. I've been stopped more times about that classic 350. Did you restore that bike? Is it a vintage bike? Like, all these crazy questions. This thing's brand new. It's got ABS. It comes with a 3-year warranty. You can't beat it for the money. It's crazy. Chris, bro, how's it going, man? Glad you showed up. Wow, I've got a whole 6 people viewing my video right now. Oh, man, I'm forgetting the most important part. If it wasn't for the snow, my brother-in-law Chris would be here right now, and I would be sharing this with Chris. I'm gonna save a bunch of this so that eventually when we see each other again, we can partake. So I will not swill it all down. It's way too expensive to swill. 6:32. Are we talking about pedal steel parts here, Chris? If I was actually getting paid at this point in time on my YouTube channel, I'd be getting monetized for drinking. And that, like, in theory, is just awesome. But, I didn't finish my thoughts on that. Yeah, so the hurdle for monetization now on YouTube, they've changed their terms of service. So as of November, I got demonetized, not because I did anything wrong, but because they require that you have a minimum of 1,000 subscribers, which I've got 4,906, I think, something like that, subscribers. And you have to have 4,000 watch hours or 1.9 million shorts views in a year. 4,000 watch hours equals 11 hours of watch time per day. So if you don't have a shit ton of subscribers, or you don't put out a crap ton of new YouTube videos every single week, you like 3, 4, 5 of them, and one of them takes off, it is really hard to meet that threshold. So I feel bad for new YouTubers, because to get to that 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, you're going to be a couple of years into it minimum before you see any kind of like monetization by YouTube. And by monetization, here's a little perspective on how this actually works. For every 1,000 views, you get roughly 1 penny of revenue off of that after YouTube takes its cut. Not quite that. It's actually less than that, but just use that as a rule of thumb. So like if you had 10,000 views on something, you'd make maybe $100 off of it. So if you think you're going to pay your bills or become like, make this your income, you have to have some serious clickbaity bullshit in order to make any fucking revenue off this whatsoever, ever, to the point where you can make it a career. And quite honestly, the topics that will get the most views are not the kind of stuff I'm interested in. So, the rule number one is you got to do it for fun. If you're not doing it for fun, then you're wasting your time. You should do that. But I think maybe you can do a playlist. You have to kick it off every day, but that would work. Yes, rig the system for me. I appreciate it. That way I can make pennies on the freaking dollar, or fractions of a cent on the penny, or however that works out to. Sorry, I'm reading the chat here. There's, just so you know, when I'm running the live stream, there's a significant delay to what you guys post. So if I don't respond right away to whatever you put in the text, in the chat, it's because of the delay. It's not because I'm ignoring you or anything. Well, at some point in time, we're going to have to stock the refrigerator full of hams. They still sell the 30-pack at dirt cheap prices. Just saying. You know what? This is create a complete, tangent subject change here. I was trying to find a vintage hams beer sign for the garage, because I think that's the official beer of the garage based upon how much hams that my brother-in-law and I and Melly have drank. Actual vintage ham signs are stupid expensive. Like the ones that, I don't know, it must be because, and it's not here in Michigan, but maybe hipsters have dumped PBR in favor of hams for their ironic vintage beer, like, corporate beer, like old school, beer that people drink. The prices on that hams branded stuff has gone through the roof. I could actually get a custom made hams beer neon sign off of Amazon for cheaper than a legit original, land of sky blue waters, like hams bear, beer sign from the 60s or 70s. Those things go for thousands of dollars and they're plastic. It's nuts, man. I'd love one in the garage, but it ain't going to happen because I ain't spending that money on it. I will cut the box from the Hams 30 pack, frame it, and stick it on the wall, and that'll be good enough. Ironic ale. Well, we still have the V Twin extra stout that the dream was that to market that to Harley guys, because Harley guys will buy. So my buddy Doug and I, one drunken night drinking beer that he had made, I'd come up with the epiphany that and I had seen this because before we went to visit, I had to go get supplies for our cats at the PetSmart, and I saw Harley Davidson licensed official branded pet toys. And I'm like, fucking dudes that drive Harley or ride Harleys will buy anything that has the fucking bar and shield on it because it says Harley Davidson, even if it's a fucking cat or a dog toy. So we had the idea is like what we could do is we can make an extra stout and call it V Twin without actually calling it Harley, to get bikers to buy it just because it was like stupid high alcohol content extra stout. You appeal to their libido, their manhood about it being like the ultimate beer because it's extra stout and super high alcohol content. And well, actually, to Doug's credit, it is very good beer. It is better than Guinness. Yeah, that's gonna piss off all the dudes from the UK, but absolutely, my buddy Doug's fucking V Twin beer is 100% better than Guinness, because it's an extra stout with a hell of a lot more alcohol content than Guinness has in it. So it will get you piss drunk fast, which means it's high octane fuel. But absolutely, yeah, 9%. I mean, holy shit, you'd have to sell that as malt liquor. That you couldn't even sell it as beer. By law, I think it has to be, if it's above a certain ABV, it has to be considered malt liquor. So yeah, I mean, if it maybe we retire out in the woods and we start making freaking V Twin, and then license that shit out or something. New retirement plan. Ooh, Paulaner, yeah, it's my favorite German beer. My buddy Alex knows this. Barrel aging it. I wonder, I know you can buy barrels that have been used for bourbon distilling. I wonder how that would work, barrel aging the V Twin. I was just thinking about like where he could possibly get one of the. I bet you Jim Beam. That's the place to go. Jim Beam Distillery in Kentucky. I think they sell a lot of their barrels to Scotland. A lot of Scotch. Fun fact, a lot of Scotch is aged in barrels that were charred for bourbon production. So, I don't think American Kentucky bourbon has been a thing that long. So Scotch, at some point in time, you're not going to have Scotch that has been aged beyond the point of production of Kentucky bourbon, because a lot of the Scotch distilleries are using previously used oak barrels. They buy them up from like Jim Beam and some of these major distilleries in Kentucky, and then they use those to make Scotch in. It's stuff I never thought I would know information about because I don't really get into that. But anything of a technical nature, I tend to absorb just because I find it interesting, not because it's something I'm going to do someday or I want to learn it. But it's just, if you aren't expanding your knowledge base, then you're just kind of staying stagnant. And I think that as you get older, you need to constantly look and develop yourself. I mean, I know this is a bunch of hippy dippy bullshit, but if you aren't constantly innovating or trying to not reinvent yourself, but to learn new shit to take on new skills and stuff, I think it shortens your lifespan. I think you end up becoming stagnant and bored and depressed with yourself, and you don't do things, and you just like, wither away and die. So like learning new cool stuff. Like I don't really drink scotch, but like because my buddy Doug does distilling, and we've talked about this stuff, I've looked into it, and it's cool. Like you learn all this new stuff. Oh, got to check on the bread. Let me know how the bread production goes, because that's almost as complicated as making scotch. Yeah. I'm sitting here bullshitting, and I've got this guitar, and I haven't really been playing it. Let's see. 2 hours. Wow. I didn't think I'd be able to talk about nothing for 2 hours, but apparently I have. I think I started the live stream way too early, and that's why I didn't have a lot of people showing up until now. But hey, it's super cool that I got people showing up. I appreciate all the birthday wishes, and I'm going to let it go for a while. I'm going to keep on rolling. So any input, any conversation is absolutely much appreciated. It gives me something to yap about. My phone just buzzed at me. Let me go check it real quick, because I got people wishing me happy birthday on other non-YouTube platforms here. Let me see here. Text message. Well, I'm sure glad AutoZone went and wished me a happy birthday. I really appreciate that. The freaking list that you get on. It's crazy. I used to want to put my tinfoil privacy hat on, but I realized that like Pandora's box has basically been opened. It is going to be very, very, very difficult to like claw 100% privacy back. You can try it as much as you want, but the data is really out there. So you know what? I don't really care. If all you need is like a partial name and a location, you can look up information on anybody out there in the world. It's not that hard, and all you got to do is pay for it. And TELUS and a bunch of other services allow it. It's like stalkers' best friends. But it is weird that like the TV's listening to you, your phone's listening to you. Like I'll talk about something that's a little off what I normally talk about, so I'm getting adverts for it. It's like, oh, hey, you talked about spatulas, so here's like 5 companies that will sell you spatulas, and I'll go and I'll click on my YouTube channel on my TV, or not my channel, but like watch YouTube, and then suddenly I'm getting advertisements for spatulas because I said it. Not because I actually looked it up, but because the friggin' phone or the TV or the refrigerator or whatever the fuck else is connected to the internet actually heard you. And if you think you can opt out of all of this stuff, I think you are mistaken. I think that those days are long gone. Privacy is an illusion anymore. It's Orwellian and scary. Of course, I say this while I'm live streaming all this bullshit. Like, whatever. I don't take this shit too seriously as it is. Notice oops, where is it? Everything's backwards. My Melly picture here. I always have that up in the video if you guys haven't noticed it before. Even if she doesn't pop in and say hi, she's always watching over me to make sure I don't fuck shit up. Well, Gary, it's not the same if you're not here to sing it. Let me think. Man, I'm rusty. I should have got my acoustic guitar out, to be honest. I don't know how well this comes in. Oh, man, that was a wrong note. Yeah, I have not been playing guitar for a while. Actually, I blame my buddy Gary because I haven't been over there to friggin' jam out with him for a while. Because really, it gets boring. I can't sing for shit, and I can't sing and play at the same time because my brain can't wrap around the two different like timings between playing guitar and singing. You have to almost be bipolar, and the people that can do it, I really admire. So I just have it pretty much stuck to playing guitar. But yeah, I don't know. After the basement flooded and all the bullshit around that, plus like other stuff going on, I haven't had the motivation to want to play. So I'm not only out of practice, but like you get calluses built up on your hands over time. Those are gone. So if I play too long, my hands are gonna hurt. Yeah, Chris is buttering my muffin. Anyhow, the noise gate on the amp works really well because otherwise this thing would be buzzing like crazy. I got Texas Special Telecaster pickups in this road worn Telly, and they are very noisy. So this amp is very cool. Thanks again, probably for the third time, Alex. I don't play it as much as I should, but when I do, it is really awesome. Fun fact: this thing works directly with GarageBand. So if I wanted to record from this Marshall Code 50, I don't need like special cables or any of that shit. I don't need a microphone. I could take the USB output straight into the Mac, and GarageBand sees it as an audio source, and it just puts it right into the digital audio workstation, and it records it. Perfect. You can adjust the volume and the levels. You could actually simulate a cabinet, like a 412 cabinet. You can simulate different microphone models and where they're at, not just in front of the amplifier, but like also like you can adjust where they are in the room to change the timbre and the reverb of the amp cabinet. And it sounds extremely realistic. It's pretty cool. My phone's buzzing again, but I'm going to ignore it. I started to realize later on the day that it wasn't just people wishing me happy birthday. Some of it was like all of these freaking companies, you know, you go buy something, you got to register for an account. When you register for the account, you put in your information and they look it up and they figure out your birthday, and then they send you shit in email to let you know, hey, there's a 5% discount if you go and buy some shit on your birthday. So it's some of that buzzing on my phone. I should have turned the freaking thing off and left it somewhere else. So every once in a while I get distracted. I pick up the phone and I look at it and I realize that it's not anybody I know. It's just some freaking advertiser telling me, happy birthday, come buy some shit. So when you say it's successfully breaded, are you using a bread machine or are you cooking this sucker in the oven? And what kind of bread are you making? Let me check. Maybe that was the buzz I just heard on my phone. I think Doug has successfully made bread. He has made a loaf. he has produced a loaf. That indeed, sir, is a loaf. It is a shiny loaf. It's a well-formed loaf, but that is a loaf nonetheless. I like the emotional support chicken eggs in the background. That's nice. So is that soured Amish white bread? Ah, interesting. Is that like a lot of wheat flour, or like what kind of flour goes into that? Stupid phone making noises at me. Leave me alone. Is that like did you put a bunch of butter on there to make the top all like shiny and stuff like that, or is that sugar, or what is that? So Doug always cracks me up. He's like Mr. Wizard. I don't know if you remember him from like the 80s and 90s, but like there's always some scientific related shit going on at Doug's house, like making beer, bread, booze, chickens, gardens, you name it. It's never a dull moment, I gotta say. The kids must have been raised with quite a perspective on all kinds of crazy shit. I love it. But that looks like a pretty respectable loaf of bread, I gotta say. I think I would make it burn disaster if I tried it on my own, unless I used a kit with very implicit instructions. You know what I found out recently is that, and this impacts baking, you have to calibrate your freaking oven. Um, we always seem to, like, even with frozen pizza, we go to cook a frozen pizza and it wouldn't be done properly. We'd have to like cook it way beyond the time. And we always thought that like it was something wrong with the oven, but apparently because the oven came with a house. So one day we were cleaning behind the oven. We took a picture of the serial number and model, and I downloaded a PDF version of the owner's manual for the oven. And lo and behold, there's a procedure for calibrating your fucking oven. You need a digital thermometer, right? So you put the thermometer in there, and you set the oven, and then you could do a temperature offset to calibrate it properly. And now the thing works fine. But for forever, like everything was being undercooked. You'd have to leave it in there too long. I could only trying to imagine making bread in that thing. It would be a disaster. We'd probably have bricks of charred bread or like undercooked dough. Yeah, like that was the fun thing about watching British baking show with Melly, is that like I quickly realized that like I always saw a theme of people on the show saying that it's like I made this bread or this cake or whatever it was at home like a dozen times, and I don't know why it's not working out here. There like the formula isn't just a formula. It's like a guideline, but then you have to have an understanding. You have to be one with the bread to understand what the bread needs, because if the temperature and the humidity and the elevation and all this other horseshit is different, you have to understand what you need to do to compensate for that to make the perfect loaf every time. And yeah, making bread is an art form more than it is just cooking like a formula. It is nuts. I have great admiration for anyone who makes really good bread, because that shit is not easy to do. I know that. I think they still make these things, like Cuisinart or whoever it is like a bread making machine where you just throw a kit of shit into a machine and it just makes the bread from start to finish. That is not the same as making your own bread from scratch. Oh yeah, we've watched the whole British baking series. We've watched all of the holiday specials. We briefly watched the Americanized version of it to realize that it sucked, and just kept watching the regular British baking show. Um, yeah, it at first it seems silly, but then you see that they put quite a bit of thought into what they're talking about when they judge it. The Brits take their bread and cake very seriously. That's all I gotta say. It is very entertaining for us. You know, what's interesting is I think that the conversation, most of my YouTube content is motorcycle related, but I think I've had very little motorcycle related content on my live stream here, and I don't really care. Again, I'm just doing it for fun. But this is because of the snowstorm. If anybody wondered why I decided to do a live stream today, I was going to do a another video podcast, which I think would have been episode 6, about what personally I would recommend for an entry level motorcycle, like at $5,000. I would say under 6,000, because like with tax and dealer prep and all that stuff, you're gonna be over $5,000. But there's actually quite a few really good new motorcycles. Um, and I was going to do that as a topic because, and I talked about this briefly, like the YouTube creator studio gives you quite a bit of tools, and they give you an AI tool that what it will do is it will look at what the most popular topics are about X, Y, or Z, and then it analyzes what you've produced, and it gives you 4 recommendations of possible topics for another video, and it ranks them based upon user interest. So, like, to hit that 4,000 watch hour mark, you need to have something that, like, a lot of people are going to sit and actually watch. And one of those was like, it was talking about like 10 most affordable motorcycles and all this kind of stuff. And I was thinking to myself, so if you had new riders that were just getting into it, I honestly wouldn't recommend a used bike unless it was from a brand dealership. Like if you're going to buy, like, let's say, a used Honda Shadow from a Honda dealer, you could take it back there if you had any issues with it, because a brand new to motorcycling rider has enough to deal with to learn how to ride the bike, then to have to also deal with the ownership and upkeep and all that stuff with the bike. In some cases, they're probably better off buying new if it's under $5,000 or slightly pre-owned. So that's kind of the concept of the video I was going to do. But then I ended up doing a live stream anyhow because of the snowstorm. I was thinking I was going to be hanging out with my brother-in-law and we're going to be up here bullshitting, watching movies and stuff. And then the weather decided to screw me on my birthday and then dump shit tons of snow out there. I will probably spend all day tomorrow digging out of snow and trying to figure out where to put all this global warming around my house. But I still think I'm going to do the next video podcast about what bikes I would personally recommend that are under $6,000 or just over $5,000. And I would say that all of those are going to be new. I'm not going to talk about pre-owned because I think as a new rider, you need to concentrate more on riding skill above and beyond, just getting into motorcycling and not have to worry about whether or not your bike's going to break down on you. And I think maybe having a new bike with a warranty is the way to go, so you can put miles underneath your belt and have a better experience than buying a cheap ass bike and also trying to learn as it's falling apart on you. Clutch is going out, brakes are going out, and it doesn't want to start. You got issues with it, carburetor. Older bikes are probably more likely to have carburetors on them, especially entry level bikes. That's a lot of complexity and responsibility to put onto someone who's just learning how to ride. Uh, so I think that's going to be a cool conversation to have in my next podcast. When I put that out, I'm not sure entirely because I need to take the time to research it and organize my thoughts and then be able to put that out as a video to do the podcast. At some point in time, the weather's going to cooperate with me and I can get back out in the garage and do some stuff. I do have some cool stuff coming. I have a company called Car Tablet that reached out to me. Actually, a couple of people on the chat here on the live stream know this, but it was cool for me. They saw my YouTube channel. At first, I thought it was a scam, but they're a legit company. And their company called Car Tablet makes a motor tablet. And what it is it's just you hook it up to just your regular 12-volt power on your bike or in your vehicle, and it connects your Bluetooth to your phone, or you can use RCA inputs or an FM modulator or like an auxiliary input to connect it to your car stereo or your motorcycle. And it gives you the ability to have Android Auto or friggin' Apple CarPlay with like a 5 or a 7-inch display on your motorcycle. So if your bike didn't come with like Ride Command or whatever BMW, Harley, Honda calls their like infotainment stuff, it doesn't matter because you can retrofit that. And if you got a helmet with an intercom system in it and you connect all of this through Bluetooth, you pair your phone to it, you've got turn-by-turn guidance, you've got a moving mat display like you do in a car, and you got it like going to your intercom in your helmet with high fidelity audio all on a little unit that's waterproofed. It just clamps the handlebar. So this company reached out to me and we've had some issues, not because of excuse me, not because they're a bad company, but because of logistical problems. Like I think one of the packages were stolen in transit. I've had 2 packages lost in transit, but I think now in the next couple of weeks, if not sooner, I'll actually get this unit. So they're giving it to me for free to review, like good or bad. They want to know what my honest thoughts are on it. It's not really a sponsored video. I have to disclose that when I actually do the YouTube video on it. But it's cool that it actually happened. It's like somebody looked at my YouTube content and said, "Hey, your shit's cool enough that we wanna actually partner with you. Here's some crap. Review it for us. Tell us what you think about it." So maybe I might be moving on up. Who knows? But it's cool nonetheless. I do have. They accidentally shipped me their premium car version of their car tablet. So I've got to play around with that. They accidentally sent me that instead of the motorcycle one. That's how I know that they're legit, because they're not trying to screw me, and they're trying to work out the issues. So hopefully that's going to be a video coming up soon. I think I'm going to install the Moto tablet unit on my Himalayan, because that's going to be the one that we're going to most likely use for real. And I want to kind of honestly review that in a situation where I would be using it in a real life circumstance. Because when Melly and I travel on the Himalayas, I've got a little clamp with a USB power that where I bought my Himalayan from. They I had them install the USB power plug. So I have a phone, a clamp, USB, and I use Google Maps in my phone, along with pairing to a Sena S20 intercom. And the limitation to that is Android Auto works better than Google Maps when you're riding a motorcycle, even though they're actually working off of each other, because Google Maps on the phone sometimes will go to sleep on you, or it won't when it's just running on the phone on the bike. It's hard to see it. It doesn't always stay awake per se, so you gotta like tap on the screen, and so you may go past a turn that you needed to make, and you didn't know it because the screen blacked out on you because it's just your phone. Where if you're using this car tablet slash like motor tablet thing or a similar device, and it's running proper Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, well, it's just always on, and it's got a big enough touch screen you can interact with it, you can see it doesn't wash out in the sun. So I can't wait for that to come in. That'll be really cool. And then when the spring rolls around, I'm hoping to get out on the road and actually do a road review of it. But I'm working on making interesting content for the YouTube channel just for fun to kind of support it. I've neglected it for a while, which is why it's a bit of a struggle to get it back up to the level where it gets monetized based upon their changes. It's not really related to Mike's birthday, but just something I'm rambling on about, I guess. Wow, almost 2.5 hours I've been sitting here bullshitting about inane stuff. I'm probably going to close this down here shortly. Let's see, what time is it locally? I think 3:30 I'll shut it down, and that'll be enough. I had a bunch of friends show up, and I appreciate it. It's one of the reasons I did the live stream, because trying to make phone calls to everybody and all that kind of stuff is kind of a pain in the ass. I figured if I did a live stream on YouTube, then people can just come in and check it out. They can chat. I do miss Google Spaces. If anybody remembers what Google Plus used to call this back before they shut it down because they were trying to compete with Facebook and all that kind of stuff? I actually kind of miss Google Plus because they integrated it with YouTube, and I could have, and I talked about this earlier, I could have had everybody on here just like sign in and actually do like a voice chat. It could have been split screen video, almost like either a Microsoft Teams or like Google Meet, I think is what they call it now. They don't call it Google Places or Spaces. You could have done that, and it would have been much more cool. It would have been interactive. It would have been more fun. But it's just a standard YouTube. They don't allow you to do that anymore. So if I wanted to invite people, I'd have to do it through OBS, which is a pain in the ass that I don't want to deal with right now. Maybe they bring that out in the future. Who knows? We'll see. But I think I've successfully gone through about a third of my fifth since I started the stream now. So I think I'm doing well for my birthday. Sorry, I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm reading the chat scroll here real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything. What's interesting is the most popular live stream I've done was a few years ago, actually several years ago, just for the hell of it, because I was bored out of my skull during COVID lockdown. I went out in the old garage and I did a live stream of just going out there and drinking, listening to music, and bullshitting in the garage. And that live stream actually did pretty well. It's kind of insane that people wanted to hang out and watch me drink and listen to music in my garage. But you know what? Honestly, I would probably watch it myself on somebody else's channel, just because it's not scripted horseshit. It's someone being real and genuine, and sometimes that interaction's better than like watching some cool scripted movie with a storyline. And plus, you guys can ask me questions or make comments and stuff, and I can react to that versus like some episodic TV shit. You need glasses, sir. Mr. Alex. See, I didn't used to have these or require these until, oh, good God, like 7 years ago, my late 40s. Because of staring at computer screens, I became more and more and more farsighted. So I ended up having to get prescription glasses, and now I can't read shit without them. One of the presents of getting to be an old fart is you have to have glasses. And I never did cheaters, like, the going to the store and just getting like X magnification glasses, because I think they would give me a headache. And the reason why is, if you get a pair of binoculars, one of the lenses will have an adjustment for the for just one eye, because it's a diopter setting. Your left and your right eye will not focus exactly the same. So when you go to the grocery store or the drugstore and you get like +3 or whatever glasses, that are generic cheater lenses, the left and right lens has the same level of magnification, but your left and right eye may not actually need the same amount of correction. So getting prescription lenses are way better, because up until I got them, I used to get raging, massive, like headaches, like right in this part of my head, from staring at a computer screen so much. And I didn't realize how hard I was straining my eyes to focus. And once I got my glasses, it made a huge difference, because and I was able to see and read, but I didn't realize how much I was like straining my eyes to focus in on stuff that was close. And I mean, we're talking like this far away, arm's distance became blurry. I can read super detail at distance, like it's crazy. The more I become, the worse my nearsightedness gets for corrective lenses, the better my farsightedness gets. And so every year, like, my prescription changes slightly. I have no idea what grade my lenses are, my glasses. I would have to look at the actual doctor's prescription to figure that out. They aren't that bad, but I do have what they call progressive lenses, because they're no line bifocals, right? It's just because, like, I'm lazy. I don't have to take my glasses on and off to be able to like read something and then look at something far away. It's much easier just to have the glasses on all the time, and then when I read, I just look down. And I'm so used to doing it now, it doesn't throw off my depth perception. When I first got progressive glasses, I think I almost fell on my face because I went to go walk down the stairs, and it throws off your depth perception. But within a day, I got used to it. And from that point on, I've been cool with it. It's not a problem. But yeah, like how bad my vision is, I don't think it's that bad. Like, if I didn't have my glasses on, I could still squint to read stuff. But over a long enough period of time without my glasses on, it would give me an absolute massive headache, because I'm overstraining my eyes to see what I'm doing. Well, I've hit the 3:30 mark, which means I've been out at this for over 2.5 hours. So if you have any last minute questions or any of that kind of stuff, let me know, because otherwise I'm going to sign off here. Oh, my buddy Aaron's asking me how much of that bourbon I've got into so far. If I had to gauge that, I would say third of a fifth so far, roughly. And it's 90 proof. It's the high octane stuff. It's proper Kentucky bourbon. 1/15th. leave it up to my brother-in-law to come with some esoteric measurement scale for how much bourbon I'm drinking out of my bottle. It's that much. That's how much it is. that much exactly. Ace, what'd you have to pick up at Ace? Are you at home, or are you at your mom's house? I meant to ask before I sign off, how good is the video feed and the audio here? Because like the last time I did a live stream, I did it with a laptop. I didn't use. Oops, I just bumped the mic. I didn't use the professional mic or the video camera or any of that stuff. More pedal steel work. I would ask which one, but like it could be any of like multiple ones or even another freaking steel guitar that you brought home. So I will hear about this in the future. At any rate, I think 2 hours and 30 minutes is plenty of time for the video. So if you got any last minute shit you want to say or ask or anything, let me know. Otherwise, I am going to sign off here in a few. Again, I got a delay on the chat scroll, so I got to look through it. Thanks. I appreciate the happy birthdays. Yeah, I'm going to be on tonight. For all my non-nerd friends, I'll be on playing friggin' video games tonight, shooting bad guys on PUBG and Insurgency Sandstorm. I might be 53, but like I'm Gen X. I grew up with computers. And so, I've played online gaming. You think it's a kid's thing, but then you realize that some of us have been playing it since day one, right? So, it's what I do. It's how I keep up with some of my friends. Yeah, it's cool. It's yet again, just like YouTube, it's just another way to keep up with people. Because again, as you get older, your circle of friends gets smaller. Not only that, but like they get further away. People you grew up with or people you're still friends with that may have been in your small town or you went to school with them or you worked with them, they all move away. They all go to different places. And as much as I shit on modern, like, social media and all that stuff, the one benefit that it has is it allows people to be able to talk to each other and keep up and remain close, even though you're geographically really far away because of the technology, which is kind of cool. For all of its downsides, it's still really cool because I've got friends in the UK and Portugal, buddy Alex. I can still talk to him because of social media. And so, like, while I'm not a big fan of the platforms in some cases, it is really awesome that it does exist, because otherwise I'd be sending him a carrier pigeon telegram or freaking snail mail in a letter or something like that. But this is far cooler. At any rate, I'm going to shut this down. I appreciate everybody that dropped by, wished me happy birthday and all that stuff. I wasn't planning to get completely annihilated tonight. That might be coming later, but I won't be on YouTube while I'm doing that. I'll probably be gaming with my friends. Anyhow, thanks for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And until I catch everybody again, again, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Take care. And if you're a motorcyclist, ride safe. All right, guys. Talk to you later.